Imagine waking up one morning, grabbing your phone, and scrolling through the news only to find that the world has changed overnight. Nations are no longer ranked by GDP, innovation, military strength, or technological achievements. Instead, they are judged by one single metric: how evenly wealth is spread among their citizens. The headlines scream it proudly, the Global Equality Index released. Suddenly, fairness becomes the new form of power. Every country wants the spotlight, every government wants to win, and the world enters a brand new competition. The equality games. At first, the idea seems noble, almost utopian. Measure inequality, reward countries that close the gap, uplift the poor, and create societies where nobody feels left behind. America, always concerned with keeping up appearances on the world stage, joins eagerly. No nation wants to appear heartless or outdated. No leader wants to be portrayed as the villain refusing equality. But like every idealistic pursuit in human history, the cracks appear quickly, quietly, and long before anyone is willing to admit they're widening. The first problem emerges with startling speed. Raising people up is slow and expensive, but pushing people down is fast and easy. And in a world racing for the best equality score, speed matters more than truth. Governments begin discovering that supporting entrepreneurship, innovation, and economic growth creates unpredictable spikes in wealth. That's bad for rankings. But suppressing ambition, overtaxing success, and regulating opportunity, that creates a perfectly smooth line on the global scoreboard. So instead of lifting people higher, nations quietly begin pushing everyone lower. The middle class, once the pride of countries like America, becomes the easiest target. They aren't rich enough to protect and not poor enough to ignore. They're adjustable, flexible, modifiable. And the quickest way to improve a nation's equality ranking is to shrink the middle until it collapses into uniformity. America, with its vast and diverse middle class, becomes a prime example. The squeeze tightens. New rules, new restrictions, new taxes, new limitations. All in the name of fairness. Entrepreneurship, once the beating heart of American identity, begins to suffocate. Not because people lost their ambition, but because ambition itself becomes suspicious. If someone rises too fast, or builds too much, or innovates beyond the average, it throws off the national score. Ambition becomes inequality. Success becomes a threat. Creativity becomes a problem to solve. In the equality games, the most dangerous people are the ones who dream too big. But even as governments try to flatten society, the wealthy do not disappear. They simply become invisible. Wealth flows into hidden places, private trusts, offshore networks, anonymous digital assets. And as financial capital goes underground, something more insidious rises in its place: political capital. Connections become the real currency of the new world. The rich no longer flaunt money, they flaunt influence. They don't build companies, they build alliances. They don't hold wealth, they hold favors. In America, the shift is unmistakable. The elite stop being entrepreneurs and become insiders. Access replaces merit. Clout replaces innovation. Wealth inequality may shrink, but power inequality skyrockets. Then comes the border crisis, but not the one the world expects. In the equality games, immigration isn't a humanitarian issue, it's a mathematical threat. High-achieving immigrants could disrupt the perfect balance. Ambitious newcomers could tilt the distribution. So nations start sealing their borders not to keep outsiders out, but to keep their equality statistics stable. America, once a beacon for dreamers around the world, quietly reduces its welcome. The country that once said, "Bring us your best," now whispers, "Not if you'll stand out too much." And as talent is locked out, something even more destructive is locked in: stagnation. High achievers inside the country begin to flee to non-competing nations, places where ambition is not punished and innovation is not regulated to death. The brain drain accelerates. Scientists, engineers, entrepreneurs, creators, anyone who wants to build something meaningful, leave because in the equality games, potential becomes liability. America starts to feel like a place where being exceptional is an inconvenience. And while governments boast about rising equality levels, something devastating happens beneath the surface. Everyone becomes poorer together. Jobs vanish. Investment dies. Entrepreneurship becomes a black market activity. Innovation becomes a rebellious act. The national spirit dims. The culture of reaching higher, pushing boundaries, and daring to be more begins to disappear. America, the land built on ambition, starts to look like a nation afraid of its own reflection. Slowly, equality stops being a moral pursuit and becomes something far pettier: envy wrapped in virtue. People stop asking, "How can I improve my life?" and begin asking, "How can we stop others from getting ahead?" success becomes suspicious, comfort becomes privilege, owning more than the average becomes a red flag. Society begins policing aspiration, not exploitation, and the equality games turn into a global ceremony of controlled mediocrity. By now, every nation is chasing the same prize, perfectly balanced wealth. But the cost is enormous. Innovation dies, growth disappears, prosperity evaporates, and yet leaders insist that the suffering is worth the optics. Charts show progress, even if real life shows decline. Happiness shrinks, but metrics rise. The world celebrates equality while homes get smaller, salaries get lower, and hope gets thinner. In the end, the greatest irony becomes impossible to ignore. You can make a society equal by lowering everyone's standard of living, but no one actually benefits. Equality achieved through suppression is not justice, it's strategic poverty. It's a race where every nation is sprinting toward the same finish line. A world where nobody rises because everyone has been pressed down to the same level. A world where equality is not freedom, but a cage painted with kind words. A world where fairness is measured not by what people have, but by what they're prevented from becoming. And so the final question echoes across America and the world. Would we really celebrate equality if it meant everyone grows poorer together? If prosperity becomes a threat and ambition becomes a crime, does anyone actually win the equality games? Because in a competition built on suppressing excellence, there are no champions. Only nations proudly tied for last place. And as the world adjusts to this new reality, something even stranger begins to happen. Something nobody predicted, yet everyone feels deep in their bones. When a society punishes success long enough, people eventually stop trying. They don't complain, they don't rebel. They simply quiet down. The fire dims in their eyes. The spark of ambition that once defined nations like America starts flickering out, not with an explosion, but with a slow, suffocating fade. People learn to whisper their dreams instead of declaring them. They learn to hide their effort instead of celebrating it. They learn to shrink their goals to fit inside the acceptable boundaries of fairness. And the saddest part isn't that people stop believing in themselves. It's that they start believing they're not allowed to. The equality games create a new psychological landscape, one where individuals fear the consequences of standing out. In schools, high-performing students are quietly discouraged from accelerating too quickly. After all, unfair advantage must be neutralized. In workplaces, employees who outperform their peers are told to balance the environment rather than aim higher. Promotions become less about merit and more about optics. Excellence starts to feel like a threat to social stability. Even in America, home of the bold, the ambitious, the restless, people begin to internalize the message: don't climb too fast, don't dream too big, don't outshine your peers. What started as a pursuit of fairness slowly mutates into a cultural expectation of sameness. And sameness, when enforced, becomes a silent prison for the human spirit. The effects are everywhere. Creativity dries up. Innovation stalls, art becomes repetitive, recycled, risk-free. Movies feel the same, music feels the same, novels feel the same. Because uniqueness is no longer a virtue. It's an anomaly that disrupts the equality curve. The safest creation is the most forgettable one. Passion dissolves into compliance. Meanwhile, productivity collapses. People figure out that effort is no longer rewarded. Why push yourself when the result will be redistributed, flattened, or penalized? Why build a business when success guarantees scrutiny? Why innovate when your invention can be considered a threat to national balance? And slowly, industries shrink. Companies withdraw, investment becomes timid. The economy enters a quiet winter. And yet, strangely, governments celebrate. Look, they proclaim, our inequality has reached historic lows. They brag about perfect distribution graphs while ignoring empty shelves, shrinking paychecks, and the pervasive sense that something essential in society has quietly died. They trumpet fairness while prosperity withers from the inside out. But the most dangerous transformation occurs at the cultural level. When people believe that striving is selfish, they begin to resent those who still dare to try. Jealousy becomes moral righteousness. Laziness becomes virtue. Dependence becomes identity. In this world, the person who works harder is not admired. They're condemned for disturbing the fragile balance. The person who sacrifices more is not respected. They're accused of hoarding opportunity. The person who dreams is not celebrated. They're seen as a danger to the collective. And America, once the final refuge for people escaping suppression, becomes indistinguishable from the systems it once criticized. The country that used to attract the world's brightest minds becomes a place where those same minds feel trapped, misunderstood, or quietly punished. A nation defined by upward mobility becomes a nation terrified of upward deviation.